Good morning, everyone. We are out here in Stories Beach at Fran Ferguson's yard. I just took a walk around with Fran so that she could show me some of the stuff, and I can't wait to share it with you. Good morning, Fran.
Good morning.
Okay, so we're going to start over here. I'm going to slide this way. Oh, and this is Mishka. Beautiful, beautiful dog, and living the life out here on this fantastic property.
This is my newest bed. It's a rhododendron and shade garden. It used to be full of, what do you call that? I can't say it right now. Anyways, it was completely dark, so we took down all of those Portuguese something or other. Anyways, took them all down, planted rhodos, and in the front I've got some astilbes, hosta, hydrangea, azalea. Over here, let's take a walk over here, and I'll show you my favorite plants. One of my many favorites. This is it's called bear's breeches. I don't know the Latin name, but the leaves are particularly interesting. And these spiky flowers, you can see the buds coming up. They will get to about this tall and turn out into a whole row of orchid-like flowers, and all have some spiny spurs on them. So they're just really fun.
I'm going to have to come and get a clipping of that.
Haha, you're welcome. Yeah, in the spring, or I suppose in the fall is a good time to divide them. So if you'd like a piece, yeah, come on over.
Well, I have your phone number now, Fran. This is one thing that I was most excited about coming to this garden for. This is called hugel gardening, and I'm going to let Fran explain it to you.
Hugelkultur is a fascinating concept. This section of my yard, because of the drainage problems on the yard, was standing water in the wintertime, and then of course hard concrete in the summertime. It was Lucretia over on Quadra who first told me about Hugelkultur, so I looked it up. Basically, you can think about it as above ground composting. What I did is, believe it or not, each of these started off with a pile or log about 4 feet tall, about 4 feet wide, and each of them, I don't know, 15, 20 feet long. So what I did is I put as much cardboard as I could find on the bottom and newspapers. I put some logs in, good sized logs, to help absorb the moisture. And then I went to the woods, and all of the things that people chuck there, I went with garbage cans and recycle boxes and so on, and I brought all of that. So it has branches, it has wood chips, it has people's garden trash, it has sod, it has grass clippings, it has horse manure, it has wood chips, any of those kind of things layered up. And because I was in a hurry to get things happening, I also did buy a load of soil, and I put on probably 4 inches of topsoil or compost on the top. So I was able to get growing in the same season. This has been here probably 3 years now. So I think it started off at about 4 feet tall, and you can see how much it's shrunk down as it's composting. The lovely thing is it's also no dig, because you'd be digging into branches and stuff. So there's no digging, and I also chop and drop. So when I'm trimming things, all my grass clippings, you can see I have a bunch of grass clippings here from recent cut. Any cuttings from the garden, I just leave them right here, and they become compost naturally. It's very little effort once you get the hugel built, and the productivity is astonishing, as you will see. This particular hugel is now my raspberry patch. Again, it started tall, and I just planted raspberries in them, and over the period of time it's gone down. The raspberries have totally flourished. The nice thing about it is it's absorbing all that water and dispersing it, so in seasons where it's really dry, I still have excellent productivity, which is pretty cool. So once you get the initial work done, I really believe it didn't cost me a dime. So I love that, and so anybody can do it if you're inspired. Just look up in the internet Hugelkultur. My goal has always been to create a beautiful edible garden. I grew up in the farm where in Manitoba, where the garden was like 2 acres in the middle of a grain field, and I thought we can do better than that in terms of beauty. So I think you're seeing right now my repurposed dog kennel, in which I have tomatoes in there. I can control the temperature a little bit, and moisture and productivity is really high there. Here, I had been saving this spot for corn, but I had a whole bunch of potatoes decide that they wanted to grow there. These were things that on the coast, everything grows, including the potatoes that I missed last year. So I got all these potatoes, so the corn had to go somewhere else. But in between, I also have some squash. Squash likes heat, and we haven't had a lot, so my squash are really tiny down in there. But I'm figuring it'll work out because these potatoes I'll be able to dig out soon. You already get the little potatoes as soon as the flowers start coming, so it won't be too long. And then by then I'm hoping that it'll be hot enough so that the squash will come. These are poppies that decided to grow here. I don't know what color, it doesn't matter. They're just pretty, they will add some color. So beauty and edibility and food sustainability is what I'm all about. And I also don't like a ton of work. You can call me a lazy gardener, call me a farmer, whatever. There's squash growing in here. There's mustard greens growing in here, which are really delicious, and they will grow everywhere. Once you get them started, they'll grow everywhere. These are all volunteers. The other cool thing is comfrey. I started it, once you start comfrey, you're gonna have it forever too. But the lovely thing is it's super, super good for the compost, super good for the soil, and you have these really cool flowers that if you're really keen, you can put them in ice cubes if you're a fancy gourmet cook. So that's, and there's more poppies deciding. I kind of let things grow where they land. So this hugel I've let get established in strawberries. Again, it started this high and it's going down, and it's absolutely delightful. And all I do is I put my grass clippings in it and a little shot of water if it gets too dry. It's a fantastic berry season this year. It's been coolish and a little bit more rain, and so it's just I think it's going to be a wonderful berry season overall. It's really important to me to be able to create a beautiful edible garden, but also one that attracts the pollinators, because of course that affects productivity. This is one of my favorite pollinating plants. It's the cat mint, not to be confused with cat mint, or catnip, which is invasive. The flowers are wonderful. It lasts for a really, really long time, and the bees just love it, as you'll see. In behind the catmint is bergamot, or we know it as bee balm. Again, it's particularly lush this year. It's usually not this tall, but it will have bright red blossoms that are kind of fluffy and frothy. And again, the bees love them, the hummingbirds love them, and it's just a beautiful addition. A beautiful addition to the garden. And in front of it, I don't know how this hollyhock landed here, but it'll be a bird probably. I happen to like hollyhocks. They're connected to my farm life, and so I decided to let her grow here. This is my intentional potato patch. You're going to think I don't grow anything but potatoes. I really do. This was my potato patch. I've got 4 different kinds of potatoes in here. I've got an early, I've got a late, I've got a German potato, and my friend Darlene gave me a Swedish potato. So it's going to be fun to compare them all. In behind, the 9-bark is still blooming. Absolutely exquisite shrub. And again, it's one that the pollinators love. It was here when we moved here 8 years ago, and is doing really well. This is an old English climbing rose. Lovely story about it. I'd hoped it was going to be blooming by the time for today, but it's not. It will have single bright pink flowers, but thousands of them, and so it's stunningly beautiful. I got it initially as a stick from a lady in Merville whose name escapes me, but she and her husband moved from England a number of years ago and brought their garden with them, which is, I think, astonishing. Anyways, she told me to put it in the shade the first year, which I did, and then I planted it here. So it's only been here like maybe 3 years, and I've cut tons and tons off it. I've given lots of pieces. If you want to start an Old English rose, it's the simplest thing in the world to do, and it's just, she gives all season long. It's just really wonderful. When we first arrived here 8 years ago, there wasn't any fruit trees on the property, and I'm going, how can you live here where everything grows and not have fruit? So we planted a crabapple, a honeycrisp apple, a plum, 2 pear trees, cherry tree, and 2 apple trees over the course of time we've been here. And the production is really quite astonishing, especially off these 2 apple trees, the first ones we planted. This one is a Prima, and the other one is a Liberty, so they're slightly different, but
These are loaded.
they are totally loaded this year. I went through the other day and did some thinning of them, and oh man, that's a hard project. I was taught by my mentor that there should be 4 inches between every apple so that you get nice big apples, and man, I can't do that. I'm able to thin some of them out, but I can't get rid of them. Anyways, it's going to be a really good apple year. We dry a lot of stuff, a lot of berries, a lot of apples. It's easy to do, and you have them all winter. We make applesauce. We freeze lots for apple crisps, apple cakes, apple anything. I use applesauce instead of sugar and oil in a lot of recipes that I use. It's just tremendously healthy, and it's such an easy way to incorporate home, locally grown food, whether you're growing your own or whether you're going to the market and getting it, or whether you're getting it from a neighbor who has too much. We have a lot of fruit, and we typically give it away. The food bank is always a source. They're always grateful to receive. The Fruit Tree Project. There's lots of places that we can give away the extras, and I don't want to see anybody go hungry. So we're back to beauty in the garden. After the success of my other climbing rose, I decided to try another one. This one is a Dublin Red Rose, much bigger, a little bit fragrant. Not overwhelming, but it's got a nice bit of fragrance. This is now 2 years old, and I've had to build a structure to help it climb. I thought it would climb on the fence, and it decided no, so I had to bend to it. But I just really love roses, and I love the addition of them in the garden. In front of it's going to be some Shasta daisy that's just getting ready to bud and bloom. And beside it, of course, oregano. If you plant oregano, you're going to have some forever. There's a daisy that's going to be blooming, and over next to it, a friend gave me a Sarah Bernhardt peony, which was a gorgeous orangey pink peony. And then I've got some burgundy lilies that are going to come. So it's kind of the herbs. There's a dahlia that's coming. There's rosemary. There's parsley. There's lavender. This is calendula along the front that's just going to start blooming. It self-seeds, so it's no work at all. And again, it attracts the pollinators, and attract the pollinator, we get more food, and it all works together. One of the things that I really love in the garden is my Speedy bin composter. I was sick and tired of replacing those plastic composters that just kept breaking on me, so I bought this. Speedy bin comes from Merville, actually. Anyways, it's rodent proof. I don't do rats. So this is rodent proof, and it just works like a charm. And the lovely thing about composting is you can put everything in here pretty much. And if Karen, I just put a bunch of cuttings in here yesterday, so we'll see. The number of wormies is quite astonishing. Let me see if I can get down a nice piece of wormy for you. You see all those wormies in there?
Holy cow!
Those are the guys. Those are the worky wormies who are creating all this beautiful, beautiful compost. We put all of our kitchen scraps in here, as well as many cuttings in the garden. It's there's something oddly satisfying about turning compost and creating a home for the wormies, which are supporting the garden. So that's one of my fun places in the garden. So this is a kind of a peculiar patch here. Normally I would have planted my corn over in my hugel, but the volunteer potatoes took over. So I had all this corn, I wanted corn, so I thought, well, it's a tiny space, but I'll do it. So it's kind of close together. We'll see how that works. If you're planting corn, you need to do it in a block. But I'm also following the Three Sisters technique, which is planting three compatibles in the same space. So you'll notice there's corn. There's also some beans. These are bush beans or pole beans, I can't remember. And what happens is the corn comes up and then the beans grow and they have something to hang onto as they are growing. And I also have some squash. The squash are still really, really tiny in here. But then the squash will grow and they will shade the other area. And they like it a bit shaded, maybe anyways. Anyways, known for compatibility. So this is my first year trying that here.
Oh,
so
I'm going to try that next year.
yeah, go for it. It's called the Three Sisters. I have a couple of different areas in the garden where I grow tomatoes. Here I have Roma tomatoes in the front, and then I have some climbers in the back. I think altogether I've got about maybe a dozen or 14 tomato plants. They're really, really easy to look after and maintain, and the wonderful thing is that you can do so much with them, and it's so easy. If nothing else, just chop them and throw them in the freezer as is. I also love salsa, I love tomato sauce, I love tomato paste, I love canned tomatoes, and there's just so much that you can do. This is Swiss chard, rainbow chard, that I'm letting go to seed because, again, it's really, really easy to grow. You have lots of greens, and I'll save some of this seed, but I'll also just let it go in the garden, and then there will be more little chard plants so that there's more food. Beside them, over these things with the little flowery tops, those are not walking onions. These ones aren't walking onions, but these are red rose Melon onions. They're beautiful red onions that we see. So these are last year's that I just kind of let grow a little bit more, and I like the art as much as anything. So we'll see. When we moved here, this was a pond and had a waterfall and so on, but it was always full of hemlock, and when the pond liner got a leak in it, I decided to change it over. I left part of the liner in to try to maintain some moisture because these big trees absorb so much, and then I expanded it and planted various things in here, ferns. There's some, I think it's chamomile, I'm not sure. Some lilies, what do you call them, irises in the spring. The birds left a double flowering lily, so it's pretty exquisite. It's just starting to come into bud right now. There's some purple flag irises, columbines, and it's just a fun garden. It's a bit challenging because does get very dry in here, the big trees taking up all the moisture. But again, it's if something isn't working, change it up. Do something else.
Fran, this is an amazing part of your yard. This is like being out in the forest. And I was just saying to Fran, what a beautiful, beautiful place to sit on a hot sunny day and read a book. But with the yard the size of Fran's, I don't know if you would actually have time to read a book.
This is our little piece of forest that we get to look after for our lifetime. Unfortunately, last year we had some disease. I think it was partly related to the drought that we've been having. Anyways, we had to take down about 6 of these beautiful big trees, including a big Douglas fir, a couple of grand firs. What we did though is left them at about 40 or 50 feet so that we have them as wildlife trees, so that even though we had to take them down for safety reasons, they they still provide a home to wildlife. This is going to be stunning when it comes up. It's a Clematis and it's dark purple. It's just starting to bud right now. It's astonishing how much it grows. I cut it down to about 2 feet every year, and it just grows up from the ground over this lattice, and it's just going to be solid, massive blooms in a very short while. I hadn't planned a container garden, but I was having a slug issue in my main garden this year. So I dug out every container that I have. And so it says to me that anybody can grow, especially greens. I planted 5 or 6 different varieties of kale in here, some radishes, some turnips with the odd marigold seed in there, and that's coming together. And if you come over on this side, again, because slugs were eating stuff, I planted spinach and beets in here. We've been eating salads off this for a week now, and we'll continue to do so. And same thing, somebody ate my peas. So I have peas growing here, some tall ones and some ones that aren't so tall, but they probably will be. The zucchini didn't like it up here, so these, I don't know why they didn't grow, but anyways, I'm going to plant some more lettuces in there shortly. And just
beautiful structure here that Fran actually uses partially as a home office sometimes, was built by Alex Whitcomb of Drifted Creations. She wanted to leave the ceiling open so that she could look at the sky, so he came up with this wonderful idea of a rolling roof. What a beautiful place to sit. Here's another amazing place to relax in this beautiful yard. But as I said before, who would have time to relax?
I really like dahlias for very little cost. It might cost you $4 or $5 for a tuber. They grow, they last forever, they expand, and multiple blossoms over many months. So I probably have 16 or 18 different kinds of dahlias, and you'll notice I have rocks, painted rocks, because I like to know the names of things. I have a better attachment to them, appreciation of them when I know who they are. So it just adds a little bit of color. These are just rocks that I painted and put the names of the various dahlias on. These posts are here to support them, so when they get tall, they will all get about this tall, and what I will do is gently tie them back to the post so that they stay upright. Again, phenomenal flowering. I'm expecting in a month or now they'll just be loaded with multiple colors of blooms, and one of my favorite parts of the garden again. This tree is called Acer japonica, or Japanese snowbell. It was here when we came. I have no idea how old this is. Oh, here's a butterfly coming. It's exquisite both in terms of the blossoms, the fragrance, and I don't know if you can pick it up on the video, but it is full of bees. And again, I'm all about pollinator and having things that pollinate. So it's just thrilling to me to be able to watch the bees at work. And these are the honeybees and the old-fashioned bumblebees, and they're just extraordinary. And if I can lift one of these without sniffing a bee, the fragrance is exquisite. And you'll see the little bells, just thousands and thousands of bells. It's just a lovely tree.
Fran, thank you very much for inviting us and sharing your wonderful yard with us. We've really enjoyed ourselves.
You're so welcome, and happy growing, everybody. If I can grow food, you can grow food too.